Okay, this is Sarah Shannon, owner of Shannon Consulting Curriculum Tutoring.com, take 3. And so I'm going to do a very brief mini lesson on the objective of writing a summary. And you can get this information, this little packet of something lesson information at my website. So I'm just going to go really quickly, it won't take that long. So open up a summary. What I would do is I would first of all do a little mini my learning goal to open up the lesson. By the end of this lesson I would know how to write an effective summary of text. So I would have the students do a core response, which is a multi-response strategy, effective teaching strategy, to be able to say to students by the end of this lesson, this is what the objective is today. And then what I would do is I would open up this lesson by reviewing what we did the last time we were working on the last lesson that we did. So we were talking in the last lesson that I did, if you remember the video I did on writing objectives, we're talking about writing an effective summary. And so this, I'm sorry, it's a little wrinkled here, I apologize, but this was the last graphic organizer that I did, or a visual that I created. So I decided to pull this out again to review, because that's formative, beginning of a cumulative assessment, beginning of one. So just a review of the prior information, which is effective teaching strategy, doing a proper lesson. So it's talking about the 5 story map elements or the 4 plot elements, which are the same thing. So you have the setting, the characters, the problem on the side of that mountain, and then the action events to happen to try to solve the problem, and the problem resolution, which are the 5 story map elements: setting, characters, problem, action events that happen to try to solve the problem, and problem resolution, and or the 4 plot elements, which are the rising action, which really is another way of saying the setting, characters, and problem, rising at the side of that mountain in the text, the climax, which is the highest point in the story, and then the falling action events that happen to try to solve the problem, and then finally the problem resolution or the falling resolution. So that is a review of the information that we did the last lesson to introduce this new particular objective lesson, which is on summary. So I'm going to review. I thought I would do it this way because I wanted to show you how you can possibly take Bloom's taxonomy and take that Bloom's taxonomy hierarchy of learning thinking skills and build upon that by presenting the information in different ways. So we talked about story map elements, right? So I'm presenting at the beginning of this lesson based on story map elements before I get into the summary lesson in a different manner. So this is a little game. If you look here, you'll see that this is a game that talks about the setting, the characters, the problem, the action events, and then problem resolution. This is 3 different ways of presenting that. And so these are 5 different story map element scenarios, and I'll put the students in groups, like small groups, and have them work with each other to try to take what they learned the last time on story map elements and present it in a different way, which is those Bloom's taxonomy. Because once they master the story map elements, then they need to be able to show they can effectively respond to the information in different format. So this is the way I would open up this lesson. Just real quick, take maybe 10 minutes to do this, but this lesson is on summary. We're going to get into that in a moment. It is on summary, but just a quick way of presenting. I just want to do it this way just to show you how you can transfer the information once you do the knowledge level of Bloom's taxonomy, and then build upon that to application, and so on and so forth. So this takes different scenarios. This is the settings, 3 settings: in a zoo, at a dance hall, and on a snowy mountain. So students would look at that. This is the first one right here. So students would look at that, and they would decide which setting which setting is the best setting to put in place for this first story element group of story elements. So they would look at the characters, and they would have to figure out which characters probably fit in with that particular setting. In a zoo, would it be Umu and her cousin Elk? Would it be Bobsy singing twins duo, or would it be 2 animals? Then they look at the next one, for example, and they would say Cheetah. This is the problem story map element. Cheetah's afraid to be alone in his cage. The temperature is dropping too quickly, and Barbara is afraid Bessie will spill the spotlight. So students have to use their critical thinking skills and work together in teams and figure out which setting will probably go with which characters probably go with which problem. So they can figure out in a zoo the character's probably going to be 2 animals, and the problem's probably going to be Cheetah's afraid to be alone in his cage. You wouldn't put in a zoo probably not 2 Bobsy singing duo, and you probably wouldn't put Barbara's afraid that Bessie's going to steal the spotlight, because that probably wouldn't make that's not the best possible answer. Remember, a strategy to learn the best possible answer, even if it's a good answer. So they would do the first one, the setting of the first one, which probably be in at a zoo, animals, and then Cheetah's afraid to get out of his cage, and then this active event, and then the problem resolution, and then with the next one, and then with the next one. So they have to use their critical thinking skills and work together in teams, which are effective learning strategies, cooperative learning, to be able to assist them in doing that. That shouldn't take that long for them to do that, even though this lesson is on summary. So after I did that, then I'll go back to the objective, remind the students what are we focusing on to this lesson, which is how to write an effective summary. And so what I did was I will write up here at the top of here and a definition of summary up here. And then I will introduce the definition of summary. We're going to go over the definition of vocabulary words of the lesson you're doing today. So effective summary, a short summary, is going to be three to five sentences approximately that state the most important information in the beginning of the text, the most important information in the middle of the text, the most important information at the end of the text. So the beginning of the text is going to include the most important information, the main setting and the main characters, and maybe the beginning of the main problem depending on the text. Only the main setting, the main characters. The middle of the text is going to include the main problem, and the beginning, just the most important action event that happens to try to solve the problem. And at the end of the text is going to include how the problem was solved, one or two sentences on how the problem was solved. So an effective summary is going to include 3 to 5 sentences approximately, summing up the most important information in the beginning of the text, which includes the setting and the characters, most important information in the middle of the text, which includes the problem, the action event, main action event that happens to try to solve the problem, and then the third paragraph is going to include the most important information at the end, which is how the problem was solved. 3 to 5 sentences to some of the information. This is just a visual graphical organizer that visually shows the information of setting in a different way. So then this is sample students. This is a student example. That's not the same lesson. That's why I didn't show it, because it's a different one. And then I presented this in a different way. So I'm presenting that information in a different way. So you have the students write it, you have them do a visual graphic organizer similar to this, and then I'm just showing a different way of presenting information. It's really the same thing, it's just a different way of doing it. So the most important information in the beginning, which will include the setting, the main characters, beginning of the problem, the first one up there. It's in the middle, the second or section of the summary. Most important information in the middle of the text would include the problem and main action that happens to try to solve the problem. And then finally, the last section will be the most important information at the end, which is how the problem was solved. So 3 sections, 3 to 5 sentences. If you do that consistently, notice that it's using that repetition. You're presenting it, you're having students use a graphic organizer to be able to do it. Then you're having the students to be able to write it out, right after 3 to 5 sentences, on paper, or type it, however you want to do it, use technology to be able to do it. And then I would extend this by doing some type of exit ticket in a different way to be able to make sure the students understand what an effective short summary, this is a short summary is. So maybe a technology aspect or an exit ticket. I do have a summary assessment that I haven't put on my website yet, but I probably will. That's a real quick one that will do what was given the repetition practice. So you're presenting in different ways. So if you do a technology extension or Canvas lesson, which you have the students, what I would do is what I've done in the past is what I would have the students do is type it out, a short constructed response to this on Canvas. You know what I'm saying? Just type it out, assign it to them, and have them do it on Canvas. So they have the graphic organizer, and then they have it written out. So anyway, that's a short mini lesson on how to write effective summary. Shannon Consulting CurriculumTutoring.com, and I do have, I'm sorry, so this is the poem that they would use, this is the poem that they're using. This is also on my website to respond to this graphic organizer. This is called Steering Pikes. So this is a really cute poem that I use, just a poem that's just to sum up really quickly about this girl who got sick, and just a real cute little poem, really cute, fun, free, kids like it, everything like that. You do a core response, have a reader pick up one or two students to read it, which is effective learning strategy. And then I will use the gradual release method to be able to go over with them at first, and then have work in small groups together on the second, another poem, and then lastly, have students do an independent, so gradual release method is effective teaching strategy. So anyway, have a great day.